And good evening, and welcome to South Brooklyn Poly Prep High School for stop number 5 of the NexGen Tour, PoNY against NexGen. My name is Mario O'Brien. I'm here with Jody Abergan, and we just pulled. This is NexGen to receive. Simon Montague takes the centering pass upfield to Mickle. Back to Montague. Jannon with the swing. Finds Kocher. Patient offense so far. There's that high release backhand that we've seen all tour from Montague. And Mickle tries to bend one and keep it in. Morrissey saying that he got possession, but that one hit the turf, Jody.
It absolutely did, and you'll notice that we are playing without observers tonight, but the right call was made there. You'll see Jonathan Waldo Cox on defense there pressuring the throw. He's one of the new PoNY defenders who I think is one to watch for this season.
And PoNY went through a bit of a transition after last year. A lot of new faces out here tonight.
Absolutely, a lot of new faces, and that problem right there, clicking near the disc, is going to be an issue for the team in the early part of the season. If they can figure that out, they'll be a very dangerous team. We'll see if they can do it tonight, though.
Montague inside out break to Morrissey. This is Driscoll, 10 yards outside. Jannon. This is an area that NexGen is very comfortable. They love to play handler-dominated offense, and that lends well to their end zone. Kocher just outside the end zone. Looks to Jannon. Tries to sneak one in there, but a block from the PoNY defender. Jannon drawing some contact.
And there is Jonathan Cox. He is an incredibly fast player, has a nose for the disc, and we could credit him with almost 2 Ds on this first point here, pressuring that one up the line and then stepping in there, drawing a little bit of contact, and it looks like they're sorting it out on the field. As you mentioned, PoNY, lots of turnover this year. On the field right now, 2 rookie players and 3 second-year players on their starting D-line, so lots to deal with for the Pride of New York. They're still setting their roster this year, but this will be a good test.
So the foul was upheld. Disc will remain with NexGen. Kocher swinging to Mickle. Montague. Physical defense from PoNY trying to prevent Mickle from getting up line, but Mickle breaks free and Montague finds him for the 1-0 lead.
That's right, and I think that's probably a good point for PoNY. They can walk off saying, look, the disc hit the turf 2 times on that D possession. If we can keep that up over the course of the game, maybe convert when we get it back, we'll be in good shape. The real question for PoNY, I think, is what the O-line does right now. There's been tons of turnover for this team. A lot of the sort of household names from PoNY not back this year. That doesn't mean they can't fill that position. It doesn't mean they're not stocking that O-line with players who've played on this team for a long time, but turnover definitely an issue for this team. But a lot of the familiar names out on the line right now.
Those familiar faces, Kevin Riley, Chris Mazur, Jack Marsh, that's going to have to be the rock of this O-line.
Absolutely, and Kevin, and actually there's 3 handlers out there right now to keep your eye on. Kevin Riley, Chris Mazur will do the bulk of the work, and then Mike Hennessy, who's been a PoNY captain, the last remaining original PoNY member, veteran on the team, and then a cutting team of Robbie Gillis, the tallest player on PoNY, Jack Marsh, I think probably PoNY's best player, at least the one out here tonight with Dan Heyman on the sidelines. Keep your eyes on Jack Marsh and Chris Mazur would be the ones to watch for at this point.
PoNY centers to Mazur.
And there's Jack with the first cut.
Horizontal set here from PoNY. Mazur clearing up line. Marsh up to Riley. Kevin Riley, Wisconsin Hodag, swings to Mazur. Mazur, the workhorse so far at this point. Sees a couple Pony receivers deep.
And that's Robbie Gillis, textbook going deep. But the important thing, right, working at the first 50 yards or so on very, very short movement. When you see Pony start to sort of panic a little bit closer to their end zone and not get the handler moving and then put up that hook, that's trouble. But if it comes after 5 or 6 short passes, that's great. They can do that all day, put it on a rope to Robbie, let him go up and get it.
And Mazur's got to be the guy here tonight. A lot of these guys, as they're sorting out their roster, they're trying to figure it out. But Mazur is in the middle and coming off of a really great season in the MLU for the New York squad. Mazur was one of them, I think, led the league in points this year, and I think that's going to lead to a lot of confidence for him early in the game.
Absolutely. I played with Mazur on the MLU team, and my job was to stand there and make him look good and do what I could to set him up. And if enough guys on Pony can do that this year and put him in a position where he doesn't press, but instead sort of lets the game come to him and makes the throws when they're there, then it'll be a very successful campaign.
So 1-1, both teams holding serve. Again, my name is Mario O'Brien. I'm joined in the booth tonight by someone who is just recently retired from Pony.
You put it that way, it's so depressing, Mario. But yes, I was on this field last time, and I'm actually very happy to be at a safer move from the likes of Dylan Freechild up here in the announcing booth.
Well, we're glad to have you here, Jody. NexGen coming out, vert stack. Disc was centered to Montague. Call somewhere downfield.
I think only 2 or 3 guys who were on that first D-line on this D-line, so clearly trying to just fold in as many players as possible, get people reps.
Kocher in the backfield. Finds Morrissey. Looking to swing. Montague. Montague fakes the deep cut to Jannon. Throws and goes, now swinging to Driscoll. Tight man-to-man from Pony. Finds Montague open deep.
Looks like forced middle.
Kocher swings to Mickle. Mickle takes a rip. He's got Driscoll downfield. 2 Pony defenders in the area, but Will Driscoll goes up over 2 Pony defenders and brings this one in for another O-line hold.
You know, I think that was probably maybe not as successful as the last defensive campaign, but again, the Pony team can walk away saying, you know, that was thrown into double coverage. I think as most D-lines try and do, your goal is to take away option A, right? But make them go to option B and try and play at a sort of not optimal form of alternate. But then when they play option B, you still got to play defense. That's the key. And so you still got to come down with plays like that. I think they made them put up something not ideal, but you still got to try and make a play over Will Driscoll there, which they did not. But you know, over the course of the game, maybe that pressure will get to the All-Stars. And the same goes on the other side, right? Can Pony make it easy through resets to move up the field and get easy hucks, 40-yard hucks as opposed to 65-yard hucks? That makes all the difference in the world. As soon as they start to press as handlers, as soon as Mazur starts to feel the pressure a little bit, Kevin Riley starts to feel the pressure a little bit, then you'll start to see those 65-yard hucks at high stall counts, and that's not Pony's game. That's not anyone's game.
So 2-1, Jay Clark to pull. Saw a horizontal stack from Pony last O point. Side stack this time, looking to center to Mazur. Downfield, Marsh coming out of the stack first. Nice continuation here from Pony, gaining the first 40 yards of the field. Disc in the hands of Cox. Cox swings. Nice job using the width of the field here by Pony. Tight man-to-man from the bus. Swing into space, all the way over to Hennessy. And the receiver took his eyes off the disc as he was trying to make that turn. Cox not able to come up with it.
That was David Vukovic, captain this year, first-year captain, usually on the D-line, but looks like he's playing O this year, but a phenomenal defender, which is important to have on moments like this where you turn it over, try and get it back.
Jay Clark with the disc, looking at a vertical stack. Eli Kearns top of the stack, Freechild in the backfield with him. This will be NexGen's first look at a break. And that was Elliot Erickson in the area, but the athletic and acrobatic Jack Marsh takes it away.
That's right, Jack, I think on help D there. No surprise seeing Elliot go deep. I've coached Elliot before and played against him before, and that's what he does best, is on the turn, just go deep.
That's right. You have an interesting relationship with a lot of the players on the NexGen team, though you played for New York this past year and for a while now. You've coached a lot of these players.
That's right. I coached the Junior Worlds team twice in 2008 and 2010, helped with tryouts in 2004 and 6. So I've seen a lot of these players come up. There's 9 guys on this year's NexGen team, a handful on past NexGen teams who I've coached. I believe 3 of them got that D right there.
Well, your coaching paid off,
Yeah,
unfortunately, for
me.
NexGen here tonight. This is Erickson with the disc after the D by Freechild. Now Jake Clark on the doorstep, flips it to Neal. That's the Kiwi with a goal. And NexGen's first break of the game for a 3-1 lead.
You know, sometimes it's really hard to stop after getting it back, right? You're a little more tired. You feel like, on the one hand, it's a gift, you know, but on the other hand, you feel the pressure even more to score, and you feel like, oh gosh, we really got to do this now. Sometimes it's nice to just receive, run your play, make it happen. Obviously, you want to score on the first time every time, but it just gets harder and harder every turn. So the question is, who can create those turns? I think there's going to be a number of turns tonight. PoNY's early in the season, they're not fully clicking. The weather is, I mean, it was pouring earlier, but it's still a little wet, it's still a little wonky out there. So the question is, you know, on those 2, 3, 4 turnover points, who comes ahead? Because that's a real sort of mental advantage over the course of a long game.
So the bus will pull up 3-1. Taking a look backwards here. This is stop number 5 of the tour. Game number 1. NexGen fell to Revolver. Game number 2, they were able to come out with a win in a long game where Double Wide made a huge comeback. Game number 3, Chain Lightning played a really clean game to come out with a victory, and in game number 4, Ring with the victory, and we're here at game number 5. This is Riley with the disc, and the bidding Janenkamp come up with this one. Amazing.
With the disc right there, just barely beating Jacob Jan on the end cut is Markin Kuzmovic. I think I may be the first person to ever pronounce his name correctly, but they call him Muck. I think he is the PoNY player who might take the big leap this year. He's incredibly fast, but the thing he's learned to do is use his speed efficiently. He's actually very similar to Elliot Erickson in that way. They can run for days, but it was the moment where they sort of learned to go to the right spot and use their speed efficiently when they really take that next step.
PoNY working it, the spread offense. Mazer taking control now. He's got someone streaking deep. That's Marsh.
It's hard to overthrow Jack Marsh.
And those two have been playing together for a few years now. Mazer looks good early in this game.
Yeah, Mazer to Marsh will be something that you'll see a lot of this season. And Chris Mazer, again, yeah, coming off of a very successful MLU campaign, he should just continue to do the exact same thing, which is just get fed the disc. When he throws, when it's stall 4 and under, it's the completion percentage is through the roof. When it's stall 5, 6, 7, and he starts to feel the pressure a little bit, and maybe his other handlers are selling him out a little bit, that's obviously where you get the trouble. But early in the count, when he's flowing, he's almost unstoppable.
So a clean point for PoNY to bring them back within 1.
There was a point in which, you know, no one was open by more than a step and a half, but that's what PoNY's going to have to be comfortable doing. They don't have guys, I think, like Jimmy Nickel, who can just go out into a lane and be open by 15, 5, 6 steps. Dan Heyman, who's standing on the sideline, is one of those guys, but other than that, they don't really have that. But teams can make a living. You played on a club team that kind of made a living just keeping the disc in possession, being comfortable with close defense, and just working it up the field.
So NexGen coming out horizontal this time for their set play. Jake Clark dumps to Kearns.
This is good Pochi D taking away the first look, and now it's just a matter of recovering and playing real defense now that you've taken away option A.
Kearns, nice little break throw to Mitch Sion, finds Freechild underneath. Freechild distributes to Montague. Montague looking back to Freechild.
That is a good
field, and that's been a throw that Montague has gone to
and
2 to 3 times a game, and this time he turns it over.
That's right, and that's a great matchup, Jonathan Waldo Cox and Dylan Freechild. Jonathan Cox, I believe led the MLU in Ds. If not, he was in the top 2 or 3. Nice catch there. So if those two continue to match up all game, it'll be great, and the matchup is just turned around here with Freechild on Cox. There's Waldo on the in cut.
Nice break. This is PoNY's best chance so far at a break. Vert stack from PoNY. Patient so far. Scion on the mark.
I think the PoNY D-line turn over there. I think the PoNY D-line wants the audience groaning about looking off hucks, right? Because they don't want to take those hucks. They want to just march it up the field. So it's okay that the crowd is not seeing those hucks, because that's not PoNY D-line's offensive game.
Kearns. Nice lefty flip to Montague. Montague's got Neal isolated, but chooses to swing to Kearns. Swings to Dylan. Dylan dumps to Kearns. Flips up to Clark. Nice short vert stack from the bus. Montague finds space in the lane. Swings to Clark, and another swing to Neal. Nice little IO flip to Scion, and Scion flips it over the top, and Freechild's gonna take this one away from a bidding defender. Nice job there by Freechild, maintaining his footwork. It's a cheeky throw there.
That's Jonathan Waldo Cox again on defense there. He is a pickup this year. I think probably the biggest sort of target for the PoNY leadership in terms of picking someone up this year. He just gets run through blocks. He gets, on the MLU team I played on with him, 4 or 5 run-through blocks a game. He's always going to be close. Occasionally he'll get beat in the air like that, but that's going to be a great matchup if those two continue to find each other throughout the game.
Cox definitely right there on Freechild's heels for that entire point.
He was the one involved in 2 Ds on the very first point of the game. Always sort of seems to find his way towards the disc.
NexGen to pull here. That's Mickle with the disc standing next to Tim Morrissey. Tim Morrissey actually brought his entire hometown out here tonight from New Jersey. They brought an entire coach bus full of fans to show support.
So New York has, you know, it's a very big city. I don't know if you knew that, Mario. But there's not great high school and college ultimate in New York. But just across the river in Maplewood, New Jersey, the birthplace of this sport, there's Columbia High School, which has just produced countless great players, Tim Morrissey being one of those.
Marsh underneath for PoNY. Fakes the deep look. Comes underneath. We're going to go up top.
That's Muck to Ryan Morgan there. Very simple, lots of space for Ryan to work in, and more importantly, I think Muck really setting up his cut, pushing Jacob Janin out, coming under, 2 or 3 step advantage. If Muck can continue to do that all season, like I said, he's ready to take that step up, be that number 3 guy in the sequence who catches the end cut, throws the score to space.
Great job from the PoNY veterans here early on that O-line. Mazer controlling the first couple points, and now you've got Muck coming out into the lane. Saw Marsh catch a goal, and Morgan now finding space deep on a great throw to the back shoulder from Muck.
Right, only 2 or 3 moments for the PoNY O-line that feel outside of what they want to do. Right, and that's the key. It's like the moment where you start to press, the moment where you start to feel like, oh gosh, we got to go to plan B, plan C, then the floodgates open and you start to see some more turns. But so far, if I was on the PoNY O-line, I'd feel pretty good. I feel like we are, you know, taking what they're giving us and doing a pretty good job scoring. They are down 1 break. They're going to have to get it back. But PoNY has always been a team where the O-line's likely going to give up 2, 3, 4 breaks, and the D-line is capable of getting 5, 6, 7 if they really impose their will.
Bosco pulls. This will be Freechild coming down, looking to get it to Montague. Vert stack from the bus. Nice break throw from Montague to get flow going. Looked off Hahn. Now the break throw to Morrissey.
These are 2 Columbia grads on each other right there. Nice D from, who else? Jonathan Waldo Cox, who picks it up.
Morrissey looked very early to his dump there, and unfortunately gets a little excited and turfs this one.
As I was saying, two Columbia grads there matched up against each other. Mike Sender, who just graduated from Rutgers this past year, and Tim Morrissey, probably a couple years older than him.
This is Hahn. Up to Allison Hall. Driscoll fakes the deep look to Montague and dumps to Freechild. Talking to the bus a little bit before the game, they said one of the things they're working on is looking downfield for just a hair longer on each possession of the disc.
It's nice to have that luxury. Most O teams yell at each other about looking too long downfield.
Well, when you got guys like Freechild and Montague in the backfield, these next-gen players have often looked to just get it back to those guys, and I think some of the captain leadership from the bus has said, no, we're all great players here. We'll get open downfield. You just got to stay looking. And now there we see that nice throw and go end zone offense. Nice high cut there behind the mark from Montague. Finds a break side cutting Freechild for the goal. The O-line for NexGen holds.
That's right. Even though they did give up a block there, you know, the PoNY D-line needs to convert those. Picking it up when you get the block and picking it up and trying to find the ISO there 20 yards out. Not the best situation.
And great execution by Montague in that end zone set. The bus likes to go vert stack with two handlers back. The off handler is always going to stand at that 45-degree angle on the open side, which really makes that defender have to choose. Am I going to take away the upfield, or am I going to take away the cut that Montague made, which is that pie cut right behind the disc? And that's the danger. If you give that up and you can't get to the mark, they've got a wide open free break throw. Great execution by the bus to get that one
And
off.
if you're trying to defend Simon there, I mean, it's one thing to try and cover him in terms of his height and speed, and then it's the other in terms of where is he going to release the disc, right? Having coached this guy, I mean, the guy will just release the disc at all these different places every single time. Incredibly hard to deal with as a defender, much less the fact that he's fast and tall.
Well, if you've watched any of the games so far this year, you know that Simon Montague has defaulted to the elevator over the top backhand.
Well, maybe he picked that up from Dylan, who had it first.
Nice horizontal set play here from PoNY. Now dumping to Riley. Couple nice cuts there from Gillies. Swings to Riley. Gillies again.
It's the passes they're looking off, which is impressing me the most here.
Nice cut from Riley. Now Riley's going to put one up to Gillies, but Eli Kearns is there on the backside, and Kearns rips one away. It might have been out of bounds, but it was a great play by Kearns.
One of those plays where the O player has to watch the line and the D player could just go 100% and just go get the disc because they don't have to worry about being in bounds.
There we saw.
He may have still landed in bounds. Oh.
Sion's going to rip one deep. And an incredible play by Elliot Erickson. Saves a turnover. Now Erickson looking to dump. Finds Clark. Clark got an open receiver. Hahn on the break side, but a foul on the mark by Mazer.
That's Mike Hennessy, number 4 on the mark there. The two ginger O handlers for PoNY. Easily confused.
Throw and go from Clark. Hahn looking to Dillon. Hahn flips up to Trent Dillon. Trapped in the corner. This is a tough spot to score from. Dillon's going to look to get it off the line. Kearns gets open.
Well, you stop option 1, option 2, but sometimes you can just sneak it in.
And on option 3, throwers make throws. And that's what Trent Dillon did.
So the thing to watch here is whether PoNY starts to fold in some new O players. After a couple breaks, a long point. Here we're watching that play from Eli again.
That really shouldn't be a good job, but I guess they're doing a good job.
As we saw, Erickson saves the turnover, and here we're going to see that tight throwing window that Dillon hits to Aaron Hahn.
Making that play, Elliott doesn't get enough credit for being 15 yards open downfield, having to come back and make that play. But if Elliott covers Kevin Riley, which is what happened that last play, and PoNY turns it over, he's going to go deep every time. I mean, Elliott's going to go deep every time no matter who he's covering, but if he's covering a handler who's used to be in the backfield, that's a matchup I imagine they've thought about, and they're going to try and exploit all game.
Cutter's dream, being guarded by a handler on the turn, especially one who's going to
Elliott covered me when we played chain, and that's what happened to me several times.
Yeah.
I remember it well.
And even if they don't score, they're going to run you deep a few times. If you score, that O player is now walking back to the line tired. If you don't score, well, you're really tired. And nice job there by Erickson to save a goal. Dylan punches it into Hahn.
So PoNY bringing in a new O handler here, Andrew Bosco, rookie this year, wearing the orange cap, number 25. It looks like he was set to pick it up, but since it went out of bounds, it's probably going to come way upfield to Kevin Riley, most
Not only
likely.
out of bounds, but not even close to in bounds.
I don't know what happened there. Caught an edge.
Classic miscue.
Oh, there's Chris Mazer with the disc. So he's got Andrew Bosco, number 25, behind him, and Kevin Riley behind him, number 7. They're just going to sit back and let Mazer do his thing. Inside break to Jack. It's pretty easy when you start at the 30.
It's easy when you're a great thrower and you're looking at exactly what you want. Vertical stack, lots of space, and Mazer's a great player. He's going to know who he's looking for and hit Marsh every time with that type of space.
The PoNY O-line, you know, they've got a lot of great players who will let the game come to them, but the guys who can sort of impose their will and, you know, take it when it matters are Chris Mazer, Jack Marsh, even though he doesn't look like he's working that hard, and then Dan Heyman, who is on the sideline right now with the torn meniscus. He'll be back in probably a month or so. But those are the guys who can really sort of take over a point. The other players really need to play within themselves and let the game come to them.
So we talked a bit about a lot of these guys coming off their season out of the MLU. How many guys on this PoNY roster played in that MLU team, and what effect is that going to have on PoNY this year?
Right, well, there are probably 3 or 4 guys on the MLU team. Chris Mazer played on MLU. He was one of the bore the load for the Rumble. Another player for New York, whose name we haven't called, but is one of their better defenders, not on right now, but is Rob Baker, number 28. On the field right now is a new player who played MLU and is out now. Tried out for PoNY last year, didn't make it, is on the team this year, and that's Jesse, number 13, number 93, sorry, and he's covering Aaron Hahn here, and it looks like it's coming to him. Nope.
Mickle. Back to Kotra. Kotra spending more time in the handler set so far today. Montague downfield a bit more. Allison Hall. Allison Hall back to Montague. More forced middle from PoNY. Mickle with the disc. Looks off Montague. Finds Jannon. The bus has done a good job so far against this forced middle, breaking a few marks, but this time a miscommunication between Mickle and Jannon leads to a turnover. Jack Marsh in the area.
And you notice Jack Marsh on the D team. Very good defender, but most likely there to do some work on the turn.
So Hennessy picks up. Swings to Marsh. Stack a bit deep here for PoNY. Marsh, nice break to Hennessy. Hennessy and Marsh. Flips one over the top, nice scoober, and this one's gonna lead to a goal. PoNY gets their first break of the game, and they needed it. It's gonna be tough to go down by 3 or 4 points against this NexGen team to come back in the second half. A timely break, and Marsh in the middle of it.
That's right. There's the Austin Raymond, who played MLU, new player this year, to Andrew Wilkes, returning player, sort of, I'd say the heart and soul of the D team, played at Virginia, had a lot of success there. Played for PoNY 3 or 4 years ago when he was up here for a summer while he was still in college, got some great experience, went to Virginia. They made a run deep into nationals a few years ago, and he's come back and has been one of the real leaders of the D team, sets the workouts for the team.
So we talked a bit about it before, Jody, about where do the PoNY players come from? I know a lot of teams around the country have their feeders. Seattle's got a growing youth scene and players that go to Carleton and then seem to come back. And Rhino has Oregon, and the Bay Area teams have all the teams around the Bay. But where do these players come from, and how do they end up in New York?
That has been the story of New York Ultimate for a long time, is that we don't have that high school and college base from which to draw from. So people have to move here because they want to move to New York. And PoNY has relied on the 2 or 3 big names who've moved here because they got a job, because their girlfriend moved here, as opposed to the guys coming out of the college system. It's changing a little bit now with high schools such as Poly Prep having a good program. But I think it's been a disadvantage for New York for all these years to not have that base.
NexGen working easily up the break side, and Kearns is going to find Scion. Another easy point for NexGen. Not much pressure there from PoNY. Lots of marks broken, everybody open that entire point. Everybody getting involved for the bus.
When you're trying to force middle and they're throwing little passes like this, it's really hard to do because you're constantly shifting around and you're opening up lanes for the quick throws, right? You want to play force middle when the team is sort of standing back. It's getting to stall 3, 4, 5. They're trying to survey the field, and all of a sudden the mark can impose itself. But when they're constantly moving, they're not hearing stall 2 or 3, and then the D is trying to scramble around to play force middle, it's just going to be a problem.
Force middle is one of those defenses that I think if you play it the entire game against a team, they start to get comfortable against it. They realize, I just got to crack a few marks, and that's going to get the continuation going. And I think that's what happened on that play. We saw that force middle from PoNY a couple times in a row, and this time NexGen solves it with ease.
I talked to Milo Snyder, one of the captains of PoNY. You can see him coaching up the D team on the sideline there. And he said that the goal of their practice this last weekend was the first step. Stop the first step. And a lot of that is about the force middle. Push them back towards the middle. Don't let them throw and go. Obviously, when you're talking about players like Dylan Freechild, that's what he wants to do, throw and go.
Freechild charging down on the mark, putting pressure early.
Good pressure, yeah.
Riley breaks one, finds a wide open.
That's Muck, Markin
receiver.
Kuzmovich. Kevin Riley with the disc.
Muck again. Going to swing this one over the top to Hennessy.
That's actually Ryan Morgan. We have 4 guys wearing number 4 for PoNY tonight. But Ryan Morgan, a longtime truck stop player, moved to New York last year. He was poached. He gets it in the backfield, is able to swing it around. And something really important there, which is when you run your first set, and maybe there's a little bit of a junk, and you run it down the sideline and you sort of work your way through it. As soon as it doesn't work, switch fields, right? We do this when we coach, we do this in practice all the time. As soon as your sort of lane option is there, switch fields, especially when they're poaching, because there's always going to be someone open on the backside and you can just waltz it in and place the disc on the cone.
So PoNY changes the angle of attack, leads to an easy goal. Nice little break there by Gillies. Down just 1 here, 7-6 NexGen. The bus going to try to take this one to half. Mazer stepping in on the D-line as Montague talks to the NexGen O-line. Standing there with Hahn, Erickson, Driscoll, Kocher on the right of your screen.
So I'm a little surprised seeing this many O players, Marsh and Mazer on the D-line. I wonder if PoNY is still figuring out whether those guys are going to be O players or D players, or whether they're saying, you know what, we're trying to win this game. Let's put in our big guys, try and get a break before half. But, it's so early in the season, I would have kind of expected the PoNY leadership to say, let's play our lines and let those guys play together. But when you're in the heat of battle, you want to get that break going towards half. So that's why I think Jack and Mazer are in right now.
Scion brings it down to Montague. Vert stack from the bus. Zipper play. Montague looks off the deep cut here. And Driscoll, hands in the air, gets it back from Montague. And Driscoll throws one into traffic, and Mazer gets it to Wilkes for the bookends, and PoNY evens it up at 7s. That's the second time we've seen a NexGen cutter come into the backfield and miscommunicate with the handler and throw it right to the defender.
That's right, and you don't want to give Simon that hard of a time for looking off a huck. I mean, sometimes it's smart to look off hucks, but NexGen is not scoring very easily, and then all of a sudden you end up with these backfield situations where you're trying to throw a disc, maybe not from your best thrower, into a tight spot, and they can make a play. We haven't really seen either team score in like 2 or 3 passes so far this game, and that's just going to add up over the course of the game. Usually, if you're an O-line and you can have a couple points where you score in 2 or 3 passes, it just takes off so much pressure over the course of the game because you know you have that space to work with. The D has to adjust accordingly. NexGen there, you know, part of me thinks they should have just taken that shot, made a play, and instead they just got stuck in the backfield. He's feeling it. Andrew Wilkes makes a great play, and they get a break. And all of a sudden, they look like geniuses for putting in Jack and Mason at the last point.
So 7-7.
Now we have 2 of Pony's biggest guys in, Rob Baker and Jesse, who's new this year out of University of Michigan.
Montague. This time he takes the rip. He's got a streaking Freechild. Cox coming from behind, but Freechild's going to bring this one down. Dylan Freechild throws a lacrosse goal and takes NexGen to half. Nice throw there by Montague, and they did just what you said, Jody. They ripped one deep. Montague's got his man streaking deep, and Freechild absolutely broke his man's ankles to get open there deep, and then goes up in the air to make the play.
That's right, and as I was saying, Pony put in probably one of the biggest D-lines they could, but NexGen found the shortest guy on that big D-line, which was Mike Sender, who's very good at covering handlers, not that equipped to go downfield and go in the air with someone like Dylan Freechild. You know, his job, if Dylan goes out into space, is to try and bump him and push him under. It didn't happen there. NexGen gets that easy score.
So the bus takes half, 8-7. We'll be back with sweet second half action. I'm Mario O'Brien here at Poly Prep High School. And we'll be back for the second half. And welcome back to South Brooklyn. Mario O'Brien here with Jody Avergan. Some beautiful scenery, but it wasn't so beautiful earlier today. We had tornado watches or some
there were tornado warnings, which is the one where there's actually tornado watches where a tornado might happen. Tornado warnings, the thing where it's like, guys, there's a tornado. So it was pretty intense weather earlier today, but as you can see, it's really cleared up. The beautiful Verrazano Bridge connecting South Brooklyn and Staten Island. We have a view of the Verrazano Bridge from the Verrazano Bridge. You have a view of the Manhattan skyline. So we are in the shadow of Manhattan here in South Brooklyn.
So NexGen was able to take half on a nice play from Freechild. Montague to Freechild. Heard a lot of that so far on the tour. And so far tonight, it's been some pretty clean offense from PoNY, getting a lot of players involved. Marsh, Mazer, and some great defensive plays from a new PoNY player, Cox.
That's right, Jonathan Waldo Cox out of Middlebury. 3 new players from Middlebury College on PoNY this year, but Waldo made his mark in this year's MLU season for the New York Rumble, just getting, you know, those pure speed in-cut catch blocks that you just don't see that often at this level. And he's continued to do it tonight. He's picked up right where he left off.
Our stream is brought to you by the wonderful people out of Portland, Oregon, Elemental Technologies, bringing you the best in high-def, high-res streaming. Your stream is powered by Elemental. PoNY will be receiving here in the second half. We'll try to knot it up at 8-8, taking a look at this NexGen D-line. That's Neil walking across the front of the line. Jay Clark will be pulling with Freechild, Elliot Erickson, Mitch Sion, Chris Kocher, and Trent Dillon, and not pictured there.
The PoNY team talks a lot about the edges of the game, the moments coming in and out of timeouts and in and out of half. If the O team can score here efficiently, is that going through? Nope. If the O team can score efficiently on this edge of the game, it's a good sign.
Huge pull from Clark. PoNY starting deep in their horizontal stack. This is Mazer deep in his backfield. Forehand up to Gillies, dishes to Hennessy. Now Mazer. Mazur, lots of nice flat flat throws to the inside out lane so far today. And this one's gonna go just over the head of the PoNY receiver. Bus going the other way, Dillon open, receives, and now Trent Dillon's gonna shoot one deep. He's gonna put it up deep for Jay Clark.
And that is a PoNY captain this year, David Vukovic out of Ohio State with the D there. Played on the D line last year, moved to the O line probably for just those reasons this year. He will get it back after the turn.
Now Hennessy looks off Riley. Nice pressure from Elliot Erickson. Great lockdown defense there by Elliot Erickson. You can see Riley and Erickson talking it over. Kevin Riley never one to turn down a conversation.
Both those guys perfectly willing to be physical. They'll find their level if they match up with each other throughout the rest of the game. It should be fun. Both, I would say, top flight play recreators when it comes to a foul call. They know how to game it out.
Great with the words, both of them. This is Hennessy. Hennessy, nice pressure there from Dillon, forcing Hennessy to look him off. Back to Hennessy. Excellent lockdown defense here by Trent Dillon so far on this first point. Really making Mazur work for the disc. In fact, it's got him all the way pushed to the back of the stack.
It's a one way you can try and mitigate Chris Mazur is push him deep, get him deep, try and let him not come in. He can go in the air, but the question is who will throw it to him.
Hennessy. Nice continuation on the open side. Pressure on the backside from Morrissey. And Vukovic calling a foul on this one. If we get a look at the replay, I think we might see that this one was overthrown and the receiver probably wasn't going to have a play on this disc. I guess we'll never know. This is definitely a tough one to solve without an observer here.
Absolutely. I think it's one of those plays where the bad throw led to the moment of contact rather than the turnover coming from the contact.
And this one's going to lead to a do-over here. Disc going back to the receiver. Contested foul. This one's going to go back to Freechild. Freechild's got on the mark, but a miscommunication with Hennessy is going to give NexGen a short field and a chance of the first break of the second half. Freechild so dangerous on the end zone line. Scion's going to blow up line. Freechild with the backhand fake and throws over the top, and this one turned over. So Riley picks up. Mazur with the disc, marked by Dillon. Lefty backhand to Hennessy.
So even though PoNY has the disc back here, this is not how they wanted their first point out of the half to happen, right? Lots of stoppages, lots of time to think about it, lots of time to feel how tired they are.
Now Hennessy working underneath. Neal on the mark. Dillon shuts down Mazur again. Hennessy having to do probably a bit more than he'd like with Mazur not able to get control of the disc here.
Kevin Riley with a call as a cutter on Elliot Erickson there. And it looks like a timeout for PoNY.
And more conversation from Riley and Erickson. So the first timeout of the game here, NexGen had a couple opportunities for a break so far. We're going to go to commercial, and we will be right back. And welcome back. PoNY taps the disc back in, looking to hold. This is their O point. It's been our longest point of the game so far. This is Hennessy with the disc, marked by Clark. Hennessy organizing downfield. Been a bit of a chippy first point. Lots of calls so far.
And you'll see Kevin Riley pushed all the way downfield from Elliot Erickson. Kevin Riley, number 7.
Mazur this time able to find space on Dillon. Trying to get it back. Thrower in trouble a bit, finds Riley to bail him out. Riley marked by Erickson. Riley fakes the hammer. And this one looks to have bounced off the turf. And Riley and Erickson going to talk this one over. We're going to take a look at it. And this one Unless Riley called skipsies, that one looks like a turnover.
He always throws with a little bit of an air bounce, but I think that was a bit of a ground bounce on that one.
So the observer is not here to make a ruling. Dillon matched up on Mazer. Riley swings off the line, finds Hennessy. Hennessy to Mazer at the front of the stack. It's a tough spot to defend Mazer. Mazer dumps to Hennessy. Hennessy's got Riley in the backfield.
Holding it too long.
And a call somewhere in the backfield. So maybe the most calls we've seen in 1 point at any stop in the tour. Both teams obviously not trying to give up an inch.
A number of these calls are, legitimate picks in the stack that I think are born of tiredness. Both teams feeling the pressure a little bit more in the second half in a tight game. NexGen definitely imposing their will a little bit better on defense.
So Hennessy talks it over with Jake Clark. Erickson in the backfield marked up against Kevin Riley in the light blue tank top. Hennessy looking to the break side, now looking to dump to Riley. Riley finds Mazer, and Mazer bobbles it on the front of the end zone. Dillon fired up, not able to shut down Mazer, but overall, Trent Dillon did a great job on Mazer, but this time, too many turnovers in 1 point leads to a goal for PoNY, but a great defensive effort by NexGen.
You notice they played their entire point over near these hash marks, never really being able to switch the field. You play a point like that with that many stoppages, that many turns, and you're always jammed up against the corner, it's going to get to you. I think that was mostly NexGen's great defense, ramping up the pressure, but also the PoNY line feeling it a little bit. NexGen O-line coming on right now, feeling really good, turning around, giving sort of a thumbs up to their D-line, knowing that they did a lot of work, they got a lot of rest, and now they can go out there and just take care of business.
So 8-8. NexGen.
In for PoNY, as you can see, there is Jack Marsh, number 22, captain this year, one of PoNY's top 2 or 3 players, if not the best player on the team, a World Games tryout invitee this year, usually on the O-line and now playing on the D-line. I don't know if that's a permanent move for this year or whether he's just trying to be there to provide some sort of veteran leadership for a very young PoNY D-line.
So Marsh to pull. Tie game, 8-8. Kocher receives the pull. Down to Montague, horizontal stack from the bus. Lots of poaching downfield. Leaves Hahn wide open. Finds Mickle. Mickle pumps the deep throw. Instead chooses Driscoll underneath. Great patience on this point from the bus. Just taking the open throw. Now finding Kocher. Kocher to Janin. Janin on the open side. Turns, squares up to the dump, looks off Kocher. And breaks it to the far side. And Montague steals the block away. And now he's going up line again, throwing and going with Mickle. Janin busts up line, and Mickle almost throws Janin into another collision, but it's going to be a goal. 9-8 NexGen.
That's what we talked about earlier in the game. The D-line's goal is to take away option 1, option 2, make the O-line go to their plan B. But then when they go to their plan B, you still have to make a play. You still have to get up in the air and make that. Andrew Wilkes not able to get to that pass where Simon Montague snatched it. This one right here, Jacob Janin being able to go up early and get it. So, PoNY on the one hand saying they had to do some suboptimal things, but on the other hand, they still made the plays when they were there. Remains to be seen whether PoNY can continue to do it and make those plays. When you have someone like Jimmy Mickle there, your margin for error is a lot bigger.
So the NexGen offense holds. There we see number 16, Trent Dillon. Very fired up after that last point. He holds himself to a really high standard as a defensive player. And this for Dillon, coming off of 2 national championships with Pittsburgh, now getting a taste at all of the nation's best on the NexGen Tour.
We talked earlier about how I had coached the Junior Worlds team a couple times. Trent Dillon tried out for that Junior Worlds team and was one of the very last guys to not make the squad, but you can see how he's just worked and worked and worked, gone to Pittsburgh, become part of that program, and obviously stepped up to the highest level of the game level.
So another huge floaty full from NexGen, and this one's going to sit in the back of the end zone. Mazur's going to take it 5 yards deep in his own end zone. Set play, converts the first throw. Mazur trying to get it back, but shut down by Dillon. High stall count. Hennessy bails him out. Free child on the mark. Scion with the pressure underneath, not able to come up with it.
They're still just working
and
that side.
And over the top. And Kearns rips another one out of the sky. Now finds Kocher. Morrissey. Morrissey looking downfield. Now dumps to Kearns. Call on the field. Couple seconds back.
Starts with the pressure on the throwers. All of a sudden, that whole other break side of the field doesn't feel like it's there, and all the cuts come flying to the open side. Pop one up, get a D, but it really had to do with the great marks from NexGen there.
Kearns in a bit of trouble, has to float one to Freechild. That's what you look to the break side for, lots of space. Now Clark finds his way to the front of the stack. And Clark
being guarded by Jake Herman, another Middlebury alum, another first-year Pony player, played for the MLU's Rumble this season as well.
Clark sees a streaking Freechild. Defender doesn't pick it up till it's too late. Nice bladey forehand there from Jay Clark. And Freechild with the slam dunk on the lacrosse goal. That's 2 deep catches and 2 lacrosse goals for Freechild.
That's right. There's one on each end zone, so no matter where he scores, he can find that goal. But that is the perfect throw for that situation, right? Guarded by Pony's tallest player. Put it fast, put it to space. Don't let him get a read on it.
And that's just an expert throw by Clark. So NexGen gets the first break of the second half. And you said it, Jody, that defensive pressure was ramped up, and Trent Dillon this time not allowing the disc to get back to Mazur. Anytime the best player doesn't have the disc in their hands, defensively you're at an advantage, and that time it paid off for the bus.
And what you saw the Pony handlers do was just fly up that forced sideline, just push, push, push. And sometimes you have to just break the mark. It may not be pretty, but you do it once, then you do it again, you're on the other side of the field and stuff opens up, right? So better to sort of jam it to the break side than continue to jam it up the open side. Easier said than done, of course, when you have some of these NexGen guys on the mark.
And that was something we saw Pony do in the first half when their set play broke down. We saw them switch the field and open up some lanes. This time, not quite as patient. So the bus pulls, Riley receives, and centers to Mazur. Jack Marsh with the deep cut off by Kocher. Kocher pressuring underneath, and Marsh with the disc. Now Mazur, this time marked by Aaron Hahn. Good pressure again from the bus. That underneath cut only gained 4 to 5 yards, and then a 10-yard loss by Mazur.
But again, it led to a swing, which opens things up.
Mazur distributing, throwing, and going. Hahn on the mark. Mazur looks over the top, blades a hammer, and Marsh is going to run this one down easily. The crowd makes a lot of noise, but from a good player to a good player, that was an easy play for Pony.
Absolutely, and I think it was aided by the fact that they had kind of touched each sideline a couple times that point. Chris Mazur with just a lovely hammer out to space, but again, the defenders were sort of out of position because they had to cover the width of the field, not just up and down in the lane, but they were sort of scrambling to go across the field, and then Jack can do that sort of S-cut, come back to the other side. Chris Mazur to Jack Marsh, I think something you'll see over and over this year.
So a beautiful skyline, taking a look at
Poly
South
Prep.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, so this is Poly Prep High School in South Brooklyn. They have a program here, only 4 or 5 years old, but coached by Dan Heyman, one of Pony's best players, injured tonight, but he's a fantastic leader, fantastic coach, Callahan winner, national champion. So that's an up-and-coming program, hopefully some future Pones in the stands right now.
And if you're trying to get New York Ultimate going, no better guy to do it than Dan Heyman. Class
Absolutely.
act.
He has really changed the culture of New York Ultimate. He has sort of fit what Pony was before he arrived, but has also helped to sort of define Pony over the last 3 or 4 years.
So Pony's offense holds, now pulls to the bus. Kocher to receive. Down to Montague. Horizontal stack from the bus and a short break to Jannon. Continuing to Freechild. Continuation. And Freechild rips an IO backhand to a wide open Camden Allison Hall. Freechild is feeling it tonight.
That's a throw that, you would probably advise 95% of the players in the country to not make. But Dylan Freechild can pull it off when he has a great receiver. You saw Rob Banger, one of Pony's best defenders, try and make a play there. He often makes those, but it just popped up over him. Throw it to space to a fast, big receiver, and good things will happen.
Dylan Freechild with the air bounce, 60-yard huck to Camden Allison Hall.
He's slaying it.
That's a Callahan winner, showing what Callahan winners do. So 11-9, NexGen, 2-point lead. They were able to get the only break of this second half.
I don't think it's going to be the last. The Pony offense last time, it was a little easier than it's been, but it looks much more difficult. You can tell at halftime NexGen clearly said, we got to amp up the marks. We got to push them to tight spaces. We got to take away Chris Mazer. So far, that blueprint is definitely working.
And who wasn't on Chris Mazer last point was Trent Dillon. There he is, number 16. He's the one been putting all that pressure on Mazer so far this game. He's the one that pressured him into not receiving the disc when NexGen did get the earlier break.
I don't think he's the natural guy who you would expect to cover Chris Mazer, right? You'd maybe think, okay, let's put a lanky, tall guy, but sometimes speed can take away lankiness. Just foot speed, put him on there, cover him, don't let him free up.
So Riley with the center.
And we see that Dillon-Mazer matchup again.
Hennessy in the backfield. Break throw to Mazer. Dillon on the mark. And a call downfield going to stop things. So we've seen a few different looks here from Pony. This time they came out horizontal. They're still horizontal downfield. Muck dishes to Mazer. Mazer pops this one up. Nice pressure from Dillon. Driscoll fighting for it downfield. And comes away with the tip block just enough.
I wonder if Trent Dillon may have gotten a foot on that. I don't know. That looked like not just a bad throw, but an altered throw.
Nice break throw from Dillon. Finds Scion. And now Dillon takes off deep. He is trying to run Mazer into the ground. Dillon with lots of space underneath.
Absolutely. Just run 40-yard sprints when you're all of a sudden playing offense on their top handler.
Dillon feeling the pressure, releases it with an IO break throw, and now Clark's going to rip one deep. Going to be tough to keep this one in bounds. Kocher giving chase.
And that's David Vukovic, once again, captain this year for Pony, like I said, on the D-line the last few years, and now is on the O-line, but I think in many ways for this very reason. One of the stories of Pony's O-line over the years is that when they're clicking, they've been really good, but their ability to get it back after the turn, which is going to happen in any high-level game, has not been there. So putting a couple guys who are defensive specialists on the O-line for those very moments could make a big difference.
So Dillon marks Mazer. Mazer trapped in the coffin corner. Nice play to get out of trouble, works it up to Muck. Trap mark from the bus. Riley gets him out of trouble, and now Riley's going to shoot one deep. Neal giving chase. Neal closing the gap, and Neal makes an amazing swat in the back of the end zone. That's Aaron Neal, all the way from New Zealand. And he made up a lot of ground on that one, Jody.
That's absolutely right. Just speed and height. Mike Hennessy, as the offensive player, sort of has to gauge it out. Aaron can just put his head down, take 5 hard steps, and just go up there and make the play.
So Riley hung that one up there, and Aaron Neal gets it back for the bus.
That's the classic difference between, you know, a 50-yard huck and a 40-yard huck, right? Somewhere in that range, you start to press. It hangs up a little bit more.
So Driscoll picking this one up, not known for his handling skills, but picks it up for this D-line. And Scion finds space up the line. Nice break throw to Kocher, and the bus has space to work on the break side. Erickson upfield to Clark. Clark and a physical mark there from Vukovic, taking away what might have been Jay Clark's deep look. And a great timeout call here by Jay Clark, sensing that this was a time when a break might break the back of PoNY. And we're gonna be back with NexGen's second opportunity for a break here in this half. We'll be back in just a minute. And we're back as we look at the Poly Prep skyline. The bus with an 11-9 lead. Jay Clark looking at Will Driscoll at the top of the stack. The bus have played a really good defensive game so far, and Clark flips a scuba for the initial play. Driscoll waiting for a handler to relieve the pressure. Driscoll's going to throw a short hammer to Elliot Erickson.
You need a thumber to complete the trifecta. Nope.
Driscoll throws to space, and the bus is going to get their break. Great job by Will Driscoll to throw to space. And Aaron Neal gets the block that leads to a break on the other end for NexGen. You're going to see a nice space throw here from Will Driscoll. Great stack discipline by NexGen, allowing nobody to poach to that open side, and Kocher.
You could see Mike Hennessy saying, where's my help there? But that really has to do with the discipline by NexGen, which I think is an advantage of having taken that timeout, right? They get to reset. Their players aren't scattered after a long point. They get to just say, we're going to find this guy, you know, with the break over the top at the beginning, and then everyone sort of knows their role, put the good players in space, throw to space, and then just waltz right in.
And calling that timeout is only interesting to talk about because the NexGen team doesn't have a coach, and they've got a couple of captains that were recently elected. There's not necessarily someone that we've seen so far this year managing the game in situations or making sure that the timeout gets called. I'm thinking back to the first half. NexGen, they've only got 15 guys, and they left both their timeouts on the table,
right.
And they had some opportunities at the end of that first half to say, you know what, we just scored a goal, but let's use our timeout, get a good D-line on there, or when we get that possession, let's call a timeout. Nice job by Jay Clark, recognizing that that was the right time to do it, and the result is an easy goal.
If you can get 2 breaks and 3 points coming out of half, it's a pretty good deal.
Mazer finds Marsh underneath. Marsh back to the O-line. And Marsh is going to throw this one into the hands of Mickle. Mickle looks off Allison Hall. NexGen going to play the throw and go handler weave up here. Montague beats his man up line.
Simon Montague lives for these moments, I think, right? Just get his guy on his heel.
And then throw the nice cross-field break. Unfortunately, Mickle a bit too casual on that throw to Allison Hall. So where we saw that great end zone discipline a point ago, we don't see it here, and this one could have been the dagger if they were to put it in. Instead, Mazer's going to get another look at his O-line.
That's Rob Baker playing on O, not his usual spot, but PoNY again trying to mix it up, especially after a couple breaks.
Swinging the disc to Riley. Riley to Baker, upfield, finds Mazer. Mazer's going to boost it. Blading, and Shannon tips the disc, and Montague makes the catch and gets it going immediately the other way. Nice teamwork, defense there. Now Montague's going to rip one deep, and this one's going to be reeled in by Jimmy Mickle, but Montague makes a great throw, and incredible defense here by NexGen this half is what we've seen. Nice play by Janin, but it was all because of the pressure that we've been seeing all point.
That's right. Although Chris Mazer there, you know, had to throw in space, had power position, maybe if he looked off the mark, got underneath. And then here, I think that throw is the Jacob Janin. And we just sat there and Jimmy Mickle said, I can go get it. it's nice when you have two guys that can go get that hook. And since we're on the football field, you know, pylon to pylon, I think we can know exactly how long that forehand was from Simon Montague.
At least 70 yards.
Absolutely.
So NexGen opens up the game here because of their sensational defensive play here in the second half. And although the Pony crowd is down, leave it to Mastermind Kevin Minderhout to mix it up and throw discs into the crowd right to one guy.
And look, any team is going to give up a break or two, right? The difference is, does that one break turn into two breaks, turn into three breaks? The O team is trying to recognize those moments where it could get out of hand, and the D team is trying to smell those moments where they can really pounce and turn it from a one-break run into a four-break run, which is really what decides games at this level. NexGen just did that. They imposed themselves and said, you know what, we're not going to be content to just get one break coming out. We're going to try and get 3 or 4, and they've blown this game pretty much wide open.
It's going to be an uphill battle here for Pony. Down 13-9. And now Riley with the disc in the middle of the field. And now we've seen Cox come over from the D-line, try to get something going for the offense. Back to Riley. Riley, nice slicing break to Mazer. Now back to Riley on the sideline.
Mike Hennessy and Kevin Riley working well together here. They're going to be on that team all season long.
And we're going to see a hammer over the top. And despite the efforts of Air Morrissey, this one's going to be caught by Pony, and they needed a break, so to speak, here.
Yep.
To just stay in the game.
Right. Sometimes you have to get lucky, and again, you know, you do your best, and then you hope you make the plays when they come to you. Jonathan Cox, just Waldo as they call him, finds his way around weird plays. Usually it's on D where he'll sort of get a block at an unexpected moment, but sometimes it'll just be a tipped ball that comes right down into his hands for a score. Much needed score there. Pony, I think, smartly mixing up their line. It's early in the season, trying to figure out combinations, in addition to the fact that after a few breaks, they just needed to get some fresh blood in there for their O-line.
So NexGen up by a few breaks here in the second half. This O-line hasn't been called on so far and been tested in the second half. We'll see if Pony can challenge them. It's been Freechild wheeling, dealing so far for that NexGen O-line. And the pull goes out of bounds. Not what you want if you're Pony trying to generate some momentum, generate some energy. You hate the O team getting to look at whatever they want, find their timing with the full stall count.
That's right, and it looks like Jimmy Mickle and Jacob Janin in the middle here with Simon Montague. Pick your poison moment here.
So Montague takes a look at a horizontal stack. That's Hahn, middle of your screen, poach, but that's Janin catching the disc against Cox. Now breaks to Mickle.
Isaiah Bryant on the mark.
Great continuation and flow here so far from NexGen on this point. Montague 5 yards outside his end zone. Kearns busting up line, and there we see the elevator back in from Montague to Kearns. And a 5-pass goal. Cutter to cutter to cutter to handler slashing cut leads to an easy goal and a first game point opportunity for the bus.
That's right, and I think one of those moments like we were talking about earlier with the attempt to go force middle almost working against Pony because they spend the whole point sort of overthinking it, scrambling, playing catch up, and NexGen just easily able to not break it around but just get those inside breaks, which are just so deadly when it's a force middle.
So we take a look at the NexGen D line.
What's on
Freechild. Can't tell if it's a...
You come to New York, you spend a couple days in New York, Mario, and you never know what'll happen. Dylan with a neck tattoo. It's a true New Yorker.
It's the bad Dylan Freechild that you're seeing.
Exactly.
So the crowd trying to get involved, trying to will PoNY back into this game. Now we see Mazer back on the O-line with Marsh, Hennessy, and Riley.
One way to spin this is good early season practice for PoNY, scoring under a high level situation. Can they score when their backs are up against the wall? You don't want to be down. You don't want the other team to have game point, but it's good practice this early in the season because they will face this situation throughout the year.
So Kevin Riley is going to walk the disc to the center. Will be marked by Elliot Erickson. It's been a scrappy battle so far today.
You see Ryan Morgan and Tim Morrissey in the middle of the post stack there, along with Robbie Gillis for PoNY.
Classic clear out play for the break side cutter. That's Marsh. Up to Gillies. Finds Riley up the line. And this time Hennessy is going to beat his man. So both teams going cutter to cutter to cutter to handler slash for the goal here, and PoNY executes to give themselves a chance to stay in the game. Great continuation offense.
That's right. Kevin Riley moving as soon as that first pass went off, which is really important for the PoNY handlers, who may not have the foot speed of other handlers, but they have good timing. If they can get their defender on their heels and keep them moving throughout the point, then they'll be able to find those moments like Kevin did right there, like Kevin Riley did right there, and just slash to that cone.
Tough spot here for PoNY. NexGen O-line, a clean slate so far in the second half. Not only a clean slate, but a bunch of easy points, especially the last few we've seen NexGen cutting through the PoNY defense.
And doing it with relatively short passes. I mean, they're obviously in we'll take what they give us mode here, and I think PoNY's been trying to take away the deep ball, but not as many hucks as I expected tonight from the NexGen O-line.
And that's been the difference in, I think, this year's NexGen team. The last couple of years, we've seen more of a high-flying NexGen hucking team, and this year's team more akin to the short game. And this game, they've done a great job of just the right amount of handler movement and deep looks to keep the defense guessing. And here we're going to see Jannon looking deep to Mickle. Jannon's got Mickle despite 3 defenders, and we are going to see NexGen close this one out. NexGen takes it 15-11. Spectacular offensive play in the second half by NexGen, and the defensive plays to match it were just too much for this young and new PoNY squad.
That's right, PoNY's still working out their lines, trying lots of new things this game, but I think one thing they realized is that throughout the year, teams are going to up the pressure in the second half. Good teams do that, and we saw that textbook example of just ramping up the pressure and the pressure getting to a relatively young PoNY team that has only had 1 practice under their belt. We'll see what happens for them the rest of the season, but they're going to have to learn to live with that pressure.
So a great game here from NexGen. Just a couple of communication errors early in the first half, but otherwise a really clean game. Great job by the NexGen leadership, ironing out some of the kinks. Their practice yesterday during the day really paid off. You could see that chemistry between the handlers and the cutters. And on top of that, players made plays tonight. Free Child, a number of great plays, great deep cuts, great spikes. We saw Aaron Neal getting involved. And now we see both teams applauding the crowd, and well-deserved. There were a great crowd here tonight in South Brooklyn. On behalf of Jody Avergan and I am Mario O'Brien, thanks a lot, and we will see you in Boston tomorrow night.